what to tell us. And I think this news that initially disturbed us, dear friend Joyce Mantilla, that 2 of the bodies were already in the possession of the Ministry of Culture, because there are many more, 2 of the bodies, María and Wawita, and it made us think that we had lost them forever. However, in the letter that the Ministry of Culture would have sent, let us remember that it is a new Minister of Culture, a Mr. Dante, and he is a teacher, at least a cultured man, and also a museographer, and he promised to return them to the university after carrying out the analysis. I tell you, we had a reasonable doubt due to the attitude of the Ministry of Culture, but to everyone's surprise, he complied, and also complied in less time than requested, and after 3-4 hours that had been extracted, they were returned to their place. Maria and Wawita, your comments, please. Joyce. How are you, Jaime? How are you? Good morning to the non-human public as well. Indeed, it was a crazy Friday the 13th. The news took us by surprise. On Monday, September 9th, the document arrived. If the master helps us, we can see the document. It has the date and time of receipt. It was in the early hours. It was the first document, one of the first documents that was submitted to the university's reception desk. It was sent with the reason for obviously taking into account, as it says there, the need for a new inspection and X-ray examinations of the mummies in the possession of the Vice-Rectorate for Research at the University of San Luis Gonzaga in Ica. And among them, as our friends can see there, is one of the reasons, he says, right? Regarding the requested attention, and in order to avoid any feeling of distrust of your office, we inform you of the details, the procedure that this department follows as follows: access to the mummies, the current location, the transfer, the X-ray tests that will be done, the return transfer, which is something important. It says that once the X-ray tests have been done, they will be returned to the central office of the university. Unpacking and everything will be done. The date and time they suggested was Thursday or Friday between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. They have been done at the Salud Hospital. It is health. It is the health system that workers pay for with a discount from their payroll, and it has one of the best teams in the Ica region. They have obviously made the arrangements to be able to do these CT scans. And obviously what draws our attention is why the Vice-Chancellor it took him so long to give notice. Dr. Dante Calderon is the Vice-Rector for Research at the National University of San Luis Gonzaga in Ica. And if he receives it, or his office receives it on Monday, why does he only inform Dr. Hernandez, who is in charge of the investigation, on Friday at the stroke of midnight on Friday? That is to begin with, since Professor Zuniga is still in not good health. If you'll allow me, I think he did it on purpose. That is, if you are telling me that at midnight he gave the order that the bodies were going to be removed, it is evident that either he received orders from someone or something, or he did it with the full purpose of not having resistance. Because all the academics at the University of Ica had always been against removing these bodies and putting them in the hands of the Ministry of Culture, because there were very well-founded doubts that they might not return to the university, that really the intention of the Ministry of Culture was not to investigate, but to extract them and take them away. But the only thing that made me think things could be different was the fact that there is a new Minister of Culture, right? Well, however, if the master helps us, we can already see some images of what the process was like in order, as they are in order of 1, 2, 3, 4. The images and photographs will help us illustrate to the public the diligence. Master, if you help us, please. Images. This is the moment when they arrive with boxes made of a flexible plastic material, very, very light, and with an abundant amount of synthetic material pads, with which they began to remove the mummies, assemble their boxes. And always, as you can see on the left, there is a young man standing. He is from the security staff of the University of Ica. So we have there the images of the diligence that Professor Edgar Hernandez, anatomist and professor at the university, provided us with. And look at the material. It is a very flexible plastic material. It is not a box that really gives protection. And the staff that is assisting the Ministry of Culture are experts from the regional museum. That is, they are museologists, experts in handling these remains, supposedly. But there has also been a lot of criticism on social media regarding the material that was used. That is, the box was made of flexible plastic material and wrapped with tape, meaning it was not properly cared for, but fortunately nothing happened. The public, who may not be very in tune with the subject, should know that the Ministry of Culture in the last 4 years, he has treated in 6 occasions for confiscating Nazca mummies. So when they notify us from one moment to the next that they are taking the mummies to do X-rays, which is part of the procedure they have to carry out to determine whether it is heritage or not, there you see when they are already outside the university. And they are taking the mummies in a truck. The university security staff is diligently escorting this procedure, so the public needs to know that there were suspicions that these bodies were not going to return. However, fortunately, everything has been as you described at the beginning, Jaime. The Ministry of Culture has complied, and we must highlight this with the procedure. And there is another thing, Jaime. This is the moment when they are entering the health hospital, the main health hospital in the Ica region. They are coordinating the entry, and we are already seeing the images inside. A hysteria broke out there. I don't know if there's some ambient audio in the background, though. That would be great. You can hear it there? Well, there are a lot of people who obviously got upset at the hospital because obviously it has been heard. Some people have heard about the case, but most have not. And when they found out that they were a three-fingered mummy, even the administrative staff in the press area began to approach and take photographs. They should have avoided this because obviously most of the staff, as you can see there, are properly prepared with masks, appropriate protectors, but look, it is a matter of being careful.
Please be careful with the finger.
It was not the most suitable transport, but fortunately it was treated with a lot of care. This is a CT scanner. I will get the exact data on the quality of these CT scanners, but it is one of the best in the region, comparable to what we have used. It is also a Philips brand. There is no interest in advertising it, but we have used other models on other occasions. But there were a lot of people, and there is one thing, Jaime, the radiologist in charge of this procedure, of these operations, is a doctor with very good credentials. I have been able to do the required work. And not only that, Jaime, I announced to your audience that I have been able to speak with the radiologist directly. That's why I had to run there. As soon as I found out about this, I drove more than 400 kilometers in a few hours to get there, and I had the opportunity to talk to the radiologist. The radiologist is confirming the diagnosis that Dr. Raimundo Salas, may he rest in peace, gave us in 2017. He was surprised because he is somewhat aware of the speculations that exist. On those bodies, however, when he saw the CT scans and did an initial analysis, he found no evidence of mutilation. It has no added mutilation, especially if they have finally someone completely unrelated to the university, completely unrelated to the research team made up of scientists from many countries now, including Dr. John McDowell, prosecutor Josh McDowell, or former prosecutor, in addition to all of them who have already said that they have not found mutilation without saying whether they are extraterrestrials or not. Now, apparently, a completely external source is confirming, and this could change everything. Joyce? Not only that, Jaime, but this, let's say, this is already considered an analysis by the Peruvian state. The first thing they do. Exactly, this is the first time in 7 years, and the public should know this too. It is the first time in 7 years that after so much fighting, so many attempts to bring the case to a close, to prosecute the professors, the professionals from the University of Ica, to try to frustrate their attempts to investigate, to seal the mummies so that no one sees them, no one takes photos of them, no one even visits them out of curiosity, because this generates a lot of curiosity. After so many disagreements, the x-rays have been taken. I congratulate the decision, even though it took a while to notify Dr. Dante Calderon, who is the vice rector, because let's say a legal front is also opened here, because since this is a judicial case, a court order should have allowed this analysis to be carried out. Yes, well, an agreement has been reached between the Ministry of Culture and the Vice Chancellor to manage this once and for all. Good time, good thing, really, because look, it is something that we wanted, but we were very afraid of the attitude of the Ministry of Culture in trying to confiscate, as it also did at the press conference in Lima. That is, the attitude had always been negative, contrary, and we, I think, interpreted it correctly to make this evidence disappear. That's right, exactly. We have always had this suspicion, because the only thing they wanted, even by unjustly prosecuting the 2 university professors as alleged grave robbers and being the leaders, was to be responsible for the theft, the illegal extraction of archaeological goods. It was only a pretext to turn the mummies into goods that could be confiscated. So they weren't interested in x-rays at first. They were never interested in doing x-rays at first, because they have gone with the presumption that these are mutilated human mummies. The analysis of the radiologists and technologists who participated is also one of the most qualified in the Ica region. We are keeping their names confidential. The public will forgive us. But we do not want to put any kind of pressure on them. We do not want to influence them in any way or make any kind of media exposure. Obviously, I have the testimony. I have the testimony of the radiologist. I have talked. I have gone. I took the trouble to locate his office, his laboratory, his consulting room, and I was able to talk to him directly. So he has to issue a very detailed report. Obviously, the Ministry of Culture has asked the radiologist for this report, and the doctor has asked for a few days, obviously, because it is something unique, something that has never been seen before, and the report has to be very detailed. And what I did make him see in the conversation we had is that his diagnosis is going to be very important in this case. It is going to be examined by the world. And obviously, it has to be as technical as possible. whatever you find, doctor, you have to make it public as it is. No? But he is very surprised, and not only with Maria's tridactyl features, but he has found some dimensions that do not fit within human measurements. He will put all of that in his report. He is one of the people who is there. Obviously, we are not going to point them out yet, but there was a lot of expectation. It obviously broke the daily routine of the activity of these doctors, nurses, radiologists, and highly qualified personnel that we have. Fortunately, there are very good doctors at Esalud. Some of the best doctors work there as well. Apart from their private practices, they work at Esalud. And you could hear some people saying, no, it must be some kind of mutilation. They must have cut off some traditional procedure. But there were comments from nurses, people who were just looking around like any other pedestrian who passes by and looks. But the conversation with the main radiologist in charge of these X-rays and CT scans is very important to me. And I believe that this will end up putting, let's say, tightening the noose that the Ministry of Culture has around their necks, not because of the management, unfortunately, of the current minister, but because of all the 19 preceding ministers that we have had in the last 7 years. The current minister, Fabricio Valencia, if he is the one who has expedited this process, if he is the one who is truly interested and has new information, has changed his position because he has been one of those who nurtured it. The legal theories that these were mutilated mummies came from his legal department because he had previously worked at the Ministry of Culture. If he is currently changing positions, it seems healthy to me. I'm giving him, as from the beginning, the benefit of the doubt. And let us hope that this is part of a new vision.
I think so, because for the first time, this document that was sent spoke of returning the bodies of others. Not all the other attempts that were made ever spoke of returning. Here he spoke of returning and he fulfilled it. So for me, there is already a huge difference with this lady, Leslie Urteaga, who prevented so much from an investigation being carried out. From the beginning, she was against it without having investigated, without having done anything. They already fired her. She's no longer there. But now she will have to face trial for the lawsuit, because that does not exempt her from the fact that she's been fired. She is not going to be let free because she is the one who directly defames me. And it's not going to end here, believe me. And the lawsuit is about to be settled in the next few weeks, or maybe days, it will be settled. And so, let's see what the Peruvian government is going to do, especially now that they already know, because they should already know that they found no anomalies, that they found that the bodies are what they are, that they were not altered. They should already know that, even if it is unofficial, and they will be waiting for the analysis. But I assure you that the new Minister of Culture already knows. He has already been told that nothing was found. There are some faces from the ministry, from the lawyer, from the Ministry of Culture. I have them on social networks. I will have to share the details on my Facebook page, which is Mummies of Nazca or Joyce Mantilla. I'm going to share some details because the face of Dr. Injante watching what the radiologists are doing is truly worth framing. His face is very expressive, really, with surprise, with bewilderment, with what we have gotten ourselves into. I mean, I don't know, really. With realization that they were wrong, that they were always wrong, and that now they are going to have to face the consequences. I think the lawsuit had something to do with all this. Of course, there is pressure on the Ministry of Culture. I think there was a conversation between the Vice President. Of course, I don't know. It's speculation on my part. It is speculation, but I believe there was a prior conversation between the Vice Chancellor and the new Minister of Culture.
where he said, look, we need to do this investigation and we will return it to you. The deputy minister must have said no, but they are going to take them. No, I promise we will return them. So this must have been it. Last week. Then on Monday, the office arrives. And who is the one who guards it? The Vice Chancellor receives it on Monday and keeps it until Thursday night to avoid opposition from the scientists who have investigated this and who are staunch defenders. Correct. Or what do you think? Of course, as they commented at the same university, that would not have happened if Professor Zuniga had been there, right? He is the one in charge of the investigation and, well, one of the most when it comes to. What happened was good, it was necessary, and it was good. The only thing we had was the fear that the Ministry of Culture would take them away, but they didn't take them away. So we did what we wanted, what we always wanted, which was to investigate. Sure, look, there are two possibilities and we have to be, I think, very transparent about this. I have my opinion and that is part of the freedom that we journalists have to express our opinion. There are two possibilities, Jaime. One, that Vice Chancellor Dante Calderon, being an intelligent, astute man with aspirations to be rector of the university and with all the knowledge that he already has about this case, has had the audacity to authorize these CT scans and X-rays. Probably, and I am speculating, thinking about his future as a possible rector, this could give him the brilliance and lucidity he needs to push his campaign a little further, if he needs it. The other thing is simply that he could have reached an agreement, as you say, with the people from the Ministry of Culture in Ica and, well, in exchange for some favor or to help him in his campaign. I don't know, I'm speculating. The downside, right, the positive side of all this is that Wawita has finally had her CT scans done and they can see him there too. What do you think of Wawita? What do you think? That's it or not? I think it is another species as well, that there must be some kind of genetic management in Wawita, but let's say this one grew out of 5 little fingers and they were mutilated. I don't know, because that deformed head, that elongated head that he has, does not correspond to his age, because the process of cranial deformation that has been carried out culturally in many species, in many civilizations, in many places in the world, takes years. Wawita, from what the forensic experts have told us, is no more than 3 years old, 2 years old, no, less. I think it's even less than 1 to 2 years old. This cranial deformation is of origin, not cultural. So maybe it is. Look, doctors like Dr. Sal say, consider it human because he discovered it. He says 5 fingers. However, scientists at ICA University say that it is indeed a tridactyl, right? Yeah, but has there been extraction of the extreme toes in the case of Wawita? I don't know, but that's why research is needed. And I think we are on the way to opening up this possibility of in-depth research, not just taking small samples and doing tomography scans, but bringing in more scientists. As I told you at some point in another interview, there is no point in showing off. What happened is going to trigger all the events in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. There's going to be a lot of news here, don't you think? I think so. And this could be, let's say, the final blow, Jaime, the final blow to the case, not only on the political and legal side, because it could also tip the balance and leave no doubt that the lawsuit will be successful in favor of what is being requested, but it could also definitively open the doors to reaching an agreement that would allow for an international investigation, which is what the current rector of the University of Ica also said and requested at some point to the minister who was already kicked out. She's out. She told her this is Ica's heritage and deserves an international multidisciplinary investigation. That is the goal. Some people thought, oh, they must be scared because they've already taken the mummies, they won't see them, and they must also be scared because the circus will fall apart. No? Well, yes, they are the clowns, the ones that are. See you tomorrow, dear friend. Perfect. Okay, thanks for this one. Joyce is coming to Mexico City, by the way, got his visa. How difficult, how difficult. That is to the Peruvian brothers who are our brothers for many reasons, not only because they are Latin American, but because they share these pre-Hispanic cultures that developed in both Peru and Mexico. And it turns out that our government, that of Mexico, for absolutely inexplicable reasons, I consider unjustifiable, now requires visas from our Peruvian brothers, while Peru has not done so for Mexicans. So I think that this needs to be corrected because it is not only about obtaining a visa, but how difficult it is to obtain that visa, how difficult. I mean, it's like we don't want them to come and it's not right, it's not right, it's not right, it's not right. See you tomorrow, friend. Let's see what happens this week. Of course, there are many things to work on, coordinate, there are projects, there are very big things that people will soon find out about. There is a great project out there that you will soon find out about, and I hope it makes you as happy as it makes us.